Hello, today's pin is how to make faux French vintage enamel tags. So you see them often on outside gates, slightly bigger, on bottles, on baskets, with a black number and the chipped enamel effect. They're quite pricey. You do get reproductions, but I've got these little discs. They're not very big. But it's a sort of chipboard laser cut discs. You can get badges, you can get all sorts of things. So let's give it a try. There are various Pinterest tutorials or mentioning these, not full tutorials even. Some of them use vinyl cut letters, some of them use gesso and just sealant, some of them use heat embossing. So there's a number of things. I think I'm going to try the heat embossing. The effect looks the best, and you know I love heat embossing in any case. So let's give it a try. Your first step is to give your little discs a base coat of black paint, because you want to sort of distress it, that the black edge shines through, because that's what you normally see on those vintage enamel signs. I'm going to start, I'm not going to even prime them, they don't need a perfect finish, just with some black, and then just keep a small oil or a society stick or something handy just to keep the holes clear. I didn't put a thick layer, this is just the background. If you had wanted your distressed effect that shows through to be brown or to be blue or whatever, then obviously that's what your base color will be. Those watching for the first time, these pins that I do is I'm doing them blank. I see the pin, I look at whatever the person says, the pinner or whatever, and then I try them. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but mostly it's been okay. So it's basically a way of telling you whether it is so easy to follow a pin or not. Okay, I'm going to let the black dry. The next step is, the pin says to apply 2 or 3 layers of white gesso. I don't know why they're not using white paint. So again, I'll do both. These numbers are being stamped with stays on probably, but whether it stamps better on the gesso than on the paint could be, I'm not sure, but the pin specifically says use gesso. These are mostly dry, but I'm just going to pop them, the heat gun over them, because patience is a virtue that I do not possess. I've also done, I had them, so 2 little tags to see how the shape influences things. I'm going to do the 2 tags in white paint, white acrylic, and the rest, the circles in the gesso, and see the blacks dry, and then we can see what the actual difference is in effect. You are now only painting the front, the one side. The back side can stay black or whatever color you chose. Again, just keep your little stick handy to keep, if your tag has an opening, just to keep that unblocked and clear. My oil's actually a bit thin. The stick, the Susati stick works better. Okay, I think this is going to need more than 1 coat, but I'm also just doing the sides lightly, but I'm going to sand them in any case to get the distress. I'm guessing chalk paint will work. I never use chalk paint, but that should also give a very good effect on this. The sticks also work as quite a good tool just to hold your circle or your tag or whatever you're using in place while you're layering on your second coat or your second color. I've been ferreting while I was waiting for the paint to dry. I do actually have vinyl stickers. I think they're from Typo. Yeah. I'm actually going to stencil a 1 and just hand cut it out. My brother's not near me. And see then how the stamping compares to a vinyl decal. This is quite a long process, the layer and dry, but it needs, those enamel signs have a very white background generally. So far, I actually think the paint is a better option. I'm now just taking, it's like a rough, it's a sanding block, but it's like more of a kitchen scourer, and I'm just going around the edges and seeing just to distress it a bit, and then if you give it enough, can you see the black line coming through? So just do that. Make sure your blocks are dry. This one's been sanded and this one hasn't. Can you see this one has slightly more dimension? It's a really light sand. There was blue paint on my sanding block. So, but I mean, this is now something that's supposed to be old or old looking. So let's see how it goes. So these have all been distressed. It's up to you how much of the black you want showing, and then don't be like me to be impatient, and then when you distress over your other circles, making fluffies on your wet circles. So nice. So when that's dry, I'll do a rough sand, a light sand, just to get the fluffs off, because you want the disc white. The next step is now the number. This video has taken so long, my kids have woken up, so whatever you hear in the background, it's them. So these numbers are actually a good size. I'm going to do them that you would. I'm stamping with stays on because I need it to not react with the embossing powder. And then we said we're also trying these other numbers. Let me just find a stamping block. What is this, 6 or 9? I don't even know. Looks like a 6 actually. Let's just check the size on this one. I think this may be a bit too big scale wise. Yeah, I think these smaller ones actually look better. So I'm not going to do another one in the big. I'm just going to continue with these little. This is with a stencil. I needed, again, something that wouldn't react with the embossing powder or the embossing ink. So I used a little makeup brush and just stenciled using the stays on, which I've never actually tried. You just need to be quick because obviously the stays on's purpose is to dry quickly. But this is actually a very good size. I like that. When you've reached this point with all your numbers stamped and ready, I just want to see, yeah, everything's fine. I don't think it will smudge. No, it's dry. You need to use an embossing ink, a clear embossing ink, and then an embossing powder. I just don't know whether to use the fine clear. I think this is called Bridal or something like that. Or the ultra thick, so I'll see which one does better. And then no one talks about using this, either the glossy accents or the acrylic gloss glaze, whether it won't give such a thick. So basically I'm going to try 4 things to see which one gives the best enameled effect. I'm just taking the little disc and just making sure that it gets coverage on the ink pad, nothing much further. And then this is just some pour over from the other emboss that I've started. I've done the glossy accents as per instruction. Just remember to poke through the hole again. I don't often use it, so basically let dry for 15 to 60 minutes. Okay, so about an hour. I thought it's overnight. Okay, not too bad. So that number 8 is Glossy Accents. Okay, I'm now going to try the acrylic gloss glaze medium just to see how that does, and then I'll do the heat embossing. 3, 6, and 9 were the super thick or the ultra thick, but can you see they've got some gaps, so I'm going to emboss again. This is the normal white. Again, it's okay, but that's the vinyl. It actually embossed really nicely. It didn't affect, the heat didn't affect the glue or anything. So I'm just going to emboss these again too. Just remember, I emboss with like a proper heat gun. I don't have a little craft heater tool, so sometimes I get the timing a bit off, but I'm okay most of the time. This is the double embossed, double thick. I don't know how to get, can you see that? It's got a proper, sorry, my hands are filthy from the paint and the things. It's got a proper gloss layer, and I mean it's hard. They look really good. Obviously once you pick them up you realize they're not enamel, but otherwise actually I think for use in a journal or on a gift or something they definitely pass the test. That's the stenciled number. That's a slightly bigger stamp. So what's really important though is your preparation. So your white, your underlying white needs to be of good quality. And then I'm just wondering if after you've now embossed it, whether you can distress it some more. Because sometimes what happens is the enamel chips on the sides, right? So maybe that's, yeah. So that actually works. You can definitely have more of the black show, and the more of the black showing, actually the more authentic it looks. That's actually a really good effect. I like that a lot. That's 3 layers of gesso. So it's black acrylic, 3 layers of gesso. The last layer was put on with a slightly damp, soft bristle brush. And then 2 layers of ultra thick embossing powder, and the numbers are stamped with stays on so that they don't react with the embossing, and that gives really nice faux tags. The only thing that I did is that the embossing powder went into the hole and I didn't wait. I stuck the little pipe in to clean the hole and the embossing powder. Remember, it's plastic, right? So it was still not set. But we can just call that, because also where the screws would be is where you would find where. So just to stress that little screw hole more, so more of the black shows through. Do you see, if you had done a different background, that you would have ended up with a different face? You could do a different face color. The only thing is, if you do a different face color, because you also get them, like for example with navy with white stamping, but then you need to be very good with your white, either stenciling or painting or whatever, to let it show on the blue. It's much easier to let the black, it's more common, right? I don't even know if you get white stays on. Okay, so that's double thick. That's good. Then this is the normal embossing. It's okay. This is also double embossed, but it doesn't give you that thick gloss coat that the ultra thick embossing powder gives. So if this is the only one you have, I don't know if you can triple emboss, but can you see it's there? But it's not nearly as thick. Let me see if I can get them. It's so difficult to get these shine. I don't know if you can see, the 6 is the double and the 5 isn't. Okay, then this is with acrylic, white acrylic at the back, also 3 layers, not gesso. So much of a muchness, I think, between the gesso and the acrylic. And then this is a vinyl sticker that I cut to size as a 1, just to see how that does. Also very nice because you get a slightly raised effect, so it's also quite nice. Then let's do 7. Hasn't been done at all, so really from 6 to 7 you can see how much difference the embossing powder adds. And then 4 is the acrylic glass just painted on. It's a bit haphazard, even with me painting very neatly. So it's about the coverage that the thin embossing powder, but the thin embossing powder is much more uniform. And then the last one is the 8, but it's not dry. That's the glossy accents, but see, that's really like glossy. It's thick. It's like you've poured it on. And I think this will actually probably give one of the best effects if it dries the same way it looks now. Okay, so there you have it, how to make faux French enamel number discs, I guess you can call it. So those 2 aren't done, this is done. That's not dry, 4 and 8's not dry. For now, I would say the double emboss with a double thick. But either way, on a tag, on a journal, anything like that, really good because they're lightweight. I had some of these hearts and because I was waiting, I just decoupaged a serviette on with gel medium instead of the number, and then I embossed it again with a double thick, or the ultra thick. So you can also make your own buttons, decorative buttons. That also looks quite cool. It's quite a cool effect. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.